So let's just introduce you all, because I hadn't met most of you before today or before last week. So Cyril, you are the head of Global Sustainability Services and Corporate Responsibility for Capgemini. He's only been doing it for 25 years. I mean, he only looks like he's 30, right? But he's a member of the Group Executive Board since 2018, has joined Capgemini in 1993, and played a central role in bringing new services to Capgemini. And something that I have loved hearing about is how he's played a central role in bringing his board on board with the ESG movement. So welcome, Cyril. We've also got Kate Mullord, who joined For Impact as a partner back in 2021. She brought over with her 20 years of experience around corporates, private equity, tech scale-ups, and she has a really deep understanding in new business models. And as her experience in Impact is very varied. She had a very senior roles in Impact FinTech, where she helped create or deliver micro loans to the unbanked. Welcome, Kate. And she looks 20. She looks 20. Kevin, co-founder of
Don't make that joke on me, please.
No. Kevin, co-founder of ChangeNOW. Interestingly, started out his career, well, earlier on in his career in Mumbai, where you played a central role around trying to transform the kind of cultural spaces by establishing a cultural education center for underprivileged populations. And then it was the tech wave that was hitting Europe that brought you back to Europe, and you got very interested in the different business types, including the B Corp movement. And so he thought he'd try his hand at a business impact, where you were creating a platform for finding independent retailers, for which you won BCG's Young Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2016. So thank you very much and welcome to you all. Big round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
So when it comes to tech for good, my first question, and I'm going to start with Cyril, but we'll go all the way across, is what is your involvement with Tech for Good in what you do today? And I would also love to know, what was your wake-up moment to its potential?
So thank you. Hello, everyone. I will start with a very personal question, because it was pretty brutal. It was 6 years ago in a recruitment session with young consultant in France, and they asked really genuinely, Cyril, what are you doing for good? You know, we have a lot of hundreds of brains in this society, so what is our impact on the society? So I must say I made a very politically correct answer, and it was dramatic. So I had to and they said, no, we want facts. How do we do that? What are our concrete impact? And so I say, okay, we are going to track what we are doing in this society, and just tracking. I know there are some consultants in this room tracking proposals. We found out that by tracking and becoming aware, roughly 25% of our business was about care, healthcare, energy transition, and trust. So we say, okay, we are inventing Capgemini Invent for Society, and from now, we will track it every month, because we owe you an answer. So this is the emotional part. The more rational part is 4 years ago, we acquired a fantastic company called Altran. No one knows Altran in this room. It's a fantastic, fantastic engineering company, and with golden assets in every dimension. I mean, you could have an Altran person in each and every workshop in ChangeNOW. But we discovered that we were able to, thanks to Altran, to build recycled and electric cars, to build solar plant, to contribute to green hydrogen. So we say, okay, let's make it, because we are in the services, and now with Altran, we are in the product. So we can have impact, we can be an accelerator. And this is basically my job today. I'm making sure that on the client side, we develop those sustainability services for all our clients. But I would say most importantly, for a company which is now represents more than 360,000 people. It's important that from inside, people feel empowered and think that they can have impact. So we have a fantastic internal challenge called Tech for Positive Future, where, thanks to technology, people are proposing programs, and this year we have fantastic outcomes for forests, oceans, building smart nets for fishermen. So this is, and it's, frankly, it's daily initiatives, propositions. So that's the dynamic that we like, that I like, and that is extremely, I would say, sane and positive for this society.
Thank you. Kate, what about you? How does tech for good play in your role today, and what was your wake-up moment?
About 7 years ago, I found myself in Lusaka, Zambia, listening to a story about a mother of 3 who had built up her credit record and taken out a loan of around $50 and bought herself a sewing machine, which for her was revolutionary because it meant the beginning of her first business. She was able to, for the first time, make clothes, sell clothes, and generate an income for herself and for her 3 children and pay for their education. Simple stuff. This was enabled by us sitting in an air-conditioned office, pre-credit scoring people using all kinds of interesting data which a bank would never normally get their hands on, and enabling a mobile operating company to provide a mobile money-based loan to this lady in Lusaka, Zambia, such that she could start a brand new business and actually change her life. I mean, fabulous, right? Such a simple thing, yet so enormously powerful. So from then on, I moved quite quickly into the impact space, and now I'm one of the management team, one of the partners at a fund called For Impact, where we invest in technology. We invest in software companies that make a positive difference on the world. This is central to our investment proposition, and that's all we do. We invest in tech for good. That is our raison d'être.
Fantastic. And Kevin, what about you?
It's funny for me to be on this panel because I'm not. I don't really believe in tech for good. That's for me. That's not the. It's not really the point. What we're showing here at ChangeNOW and what we've believed in since the very beginning, that business can also be part of the solution, and there are many solutions that we see here that are playing a very big role in changing the models. And whether there's tech or not really doesn't matter to us. Actually, you're going to find a lot of things that are low tech here. But there are great solutions using tech, as you just mentioned. I mean, software, AI, those are great tools to help us measure better our impacts on the world around us. To measure carbon, to measure our impacts on nature. Just look at rainforest clonation or companies like Genesis, who's measuring the health of our soils. Those are amazing companies. But to me, the question is not really is tech the solution, because I don't think so. I think it's not an and, it's a means sometimes, but it can also drive us in directions that sometimes contribute to replicating the model we're in today. So we have to be mindful of the great sides of tech, but also I would say the less good sides of tech as well. And tech as it is, it's a great tool. It can be a great enabler, but it shouldn't be seen as an end. So that's and back to your question. I think there was never a wake-up moment for me. It was just the feeling back in 2015, 2016 that there were so many great entrepreneurs doing amazing things, but they lacked a support system. They were very isolated. They were tackling, all of them, a very specific problem, but there was not so many VCs like you at the time. So many people ready to invest in solutions that were trying to change a model, and that needed a little bit more time, because when you are in the impact space, there is a little bit. It's not just the top line and the bottom line. It's also your impact line. So it's a little bit more complex. And that's what the wake-up moment for me was. not a specific solution, but was more how do we create a support system for all the existing solutions to scale and to blossom and to be more visible, so that when you add all of them up, you can actually influence the way the system works and show that impact is not just a niche thing, and that it could become a mainstream thing. And we've been very big on the mainstreamization of impact since day one. And the reason why we're doing ChangeNOW is to put those entrepreneurs on stage and to give them a voice and to make sure that all the people that we bring at ChangeNOW help them in their journey and help them scale.
So what you all three of you have in common is you're working and building your various ecosystems, and they interplay. There's those concentric circles, aren't they? So you're bringing the conversation platform by bringing the likes of Capgemini with the impact VCs, with the likes of Nature Metrics and Morpho. In terms of the practicalities of collaboration, because you can only work on so many different aspects. So you're betting behind impact and you're going to put your money towards scaling impact solutions. But I guess to Kevin's point, there's just not enough ambition in terms of it's just not tech. Tech is a means to an end. So is the question around better ambition or changed ambition, or is it more a case of better collaboration and better ecosystems? Kate, maybe if I can come to you. When you're looking at your portfolio, what is it that's making them, what is going to get them to beyond being a niche, for example?
I do think that we are moving away from the space of tech for good and impact being a niche space. I think it is becoming more mainstream. Clearly, we've got a long way to go, but I think we are moving in that direction. I think that for our portfolio companies, I can't think of one exception. Every single one has got a mainstream application. Now, how those companies go about getting customers and persuading customers to use their goods and services is another story. And in our portfolio, many of them are B2B, and they do provide services and solutions for large enterprise and corporates. And that, by its nature, is a slow process because, generally speaking, and I hope that there's some exceptions here in this room today, but any large corporate or enterprise that is trying to buy a new solution, which is perhaps revolutionary or very innovative or something that at this stage is still very is early stage and relatively unproven, it's quite a difficult decision to make. And that means that the rate of growth of revenue for our portfolio companies is hindered by that, by those processes. Now, I mean, I can think of one specific example, right, where one of our portfolio companies has got a solution for the fashion industry for developing LCA analysis for supply chain, so at a product level, which is a super useful product for many big retailers. And they've got people banging on their doors, wanting to get meetings, wanting to engage, wanting to start a pilot, and they want to talk, and they want to start the pilot, and they want to talk, and months go by, and years go by, and they're still talking, and it's very difficult to get through the hoops within big corporates and enterprise in particular. On the other hand, I've got another portfolio company I work with very closely that works with smaller organizations as a target market, and they're growing super fast, right? And sorry, when I say they're growing super fast, what I mean is that they are landing many more customers faster because it's an easier sell in that particular environment. So yeah, if there's one thing that our businesses could do with, in addition to more capital, because all startups need more capital, is more larger companies enabling themselves to make decisions around these types of innovative products more quickly.
So Cyril, we have to come to you and understand, it's fairly recent still, this wake up around getting involved in this product side and supporting really climate tech and hardware-based climate tech. How have you at Capgemini, do you recognize that problem? Is that something that you've seen in your collaboration, that you've had to speed up your processes and procurement processes? Can you speak to us a little bit about what that experience has been like?
Yes, for sure. First, I'm absolutely delighted to see that Kevin is a great fan of Edgar Pisani, La main et l'outil, 1983. So I think it's important the big disruption, to use, is how to manage the ecosystem. An ecosystem, it's not just, attending conferences, having coffees with speakers. It's great, but you need to put skin in the game. meaning dedicate people, meaning investing money. And so we made this decision. We were born, we were a startup in the 60s, we were born in Grenoble. And the main idea was we are majority shareholder in everything we do. So this is the big decision we made to say, okay, we can be among others. We don't master all the solutions, and that would be crazy. So this is the first element. Manage differently the ecosystem, building investors, other partners, bankers, NGOs. So there's no limit those ecosystems. The only limit finally is the money, the investment you can make, and the strategy you give yourself. So we made a definition of what is sustainability and tech for good for us. The second element, which is important, and that refers to Kevin's point, is the roadmap. What do we want to do? Where we want to go? What is our ambition? What is acceptable from our people? To what extent our leadership is able to behave? Because this is an important element, the culture of the people. So because the leaders need to be somehow role models. So you can't pretend things and behave differently. So I think for us, the big moment, again, the moment of truth is when we decided to really put skin in the game and invest in money and allocate people to those fantastic Tech for Good programs.
What?
Great on you. It's we know it requires a lot of convincing to do that, and whether you work in a small startup or in a large group, we all know that those topics. It's gonna take all of us, to make sure that we move towards technology that serves the purpose of creating a society that is more sustainable. And when companies like Capgemini make such a move, it brings so many people along them, because it's a fantastic signal as well on the industry, and also for all the clients that Capgemini works for.
Just to add one point, and I like your compliments, thank you so much, but at some point, I must say, when you are, in fact, a company which is a little country or little city of almost 400,000 people, you need to be responsible, because the expectations are so huge, and we are exposed in 50 countries all over the world, that it was important at some point that our new CEO, Eman, behaves like a government chief, addressing all the components, and all the components means social dimension, acting for the society. So it's not a matter of pressure, Kevin, but it's a matter of feeling the new dynamic and new aspirations of the new generation and the old generation as well, because we have old generation, Capgemini as well, who read the Dark Pisani. But this is very important, and this is my point. I mean, the leadership, you needs to be extremely, I would say, serious about it, and you need to believe in it. And you go nowhere if there's a doubt, and you hear, in the news, all those climate resolutions that are rejected heavily in those days and maybe today. So it's important to be credible, to be sincere. So that's the point, and I think that with Eman, our CEO, we are in this dynamic.
And do you believe that, and this is a question to all of you, do you believe that this kind of business and public and multi-stakeholder collaboration approach, can that fill the void that governments leave behind it when they renege on some of their commitments? Is that something that you're seeing?
I have a conviction, but don't want to monopolize the...
Yeah. Do you feel that is something that public and private can step in to then sway public sentiment?
I think the two go together. So usually innovation comes, it actually either it comes before, because it shows an alternative to a current situation that then can be enforced by law. When you show that there is an alternative that is possible, then you can enforce it by law. And on the contrary, you can also sometimes have the laws that create the background for innovation to blossom. Like, for example, the electrification of the car industry by 2035 in Europe. It's a very important decision that allows all the companies to invest in this transformation. So, but at the same time, you also need sometimes to, for example, like 3 years ago in 2020, we had the French government meeting with a startup which was called Planet Care. It's a Slovenian startup. They basically create filters that you put in your washing machines to avoid microparticles of plastic to go in the tubes and then in the oceans. They were looking for a solution like that to put an amendment in the law, in the circular economy law that was passed 2 months later. And when they saw that this solution existed, they said, okay, we're putting this in the law. So
it can move that fast.
So it can go very fast, and so the two feed each other.
Yeah. What do you think, Kate?
I come from South Africa, right, where unfortunately we can't really rely on the government to do what it's supposed to do. And what that means is that it puts a lot more pressure on the private sector and private individuals to make a plan. And let me tell you, they make a plan. And if there's a gap, people fill it, right? And they come up with solutions. The power goes down for 4 hours, no problem. You install a solar panel on your roof, and look at that. We're actually moving to renewable energy, right? No regulation, no one's being forced into doing it. It's a matter of necessity. Totally different scenario.
Yeah, thank you. So we're just coming to the end of this session, but I've got one very important question to ask each of you very quickly. Something that outrages you and something that you're optimistic about. Cyril.
Outrage is a strong word, but I think we need to go faster. And the roadmaps that we are mentioning, the dynamic in between with governments and this tempo, sometimes a little bit slow, Paris Agreement, it's calm, suddenly the IRA plans. In the meantime, companies are moving fast, so I strongly believe in this dynamic. But I'm somehow frustrated by the lack of speed. And the very positive side, first in this room I see Myriam, one of our colleagues. She's in Morocco and she's holding in his hand the future of green supply chain. She's 27 years old and this is absolutely great, amazing. So you can stand up, Myriam. And they are fantastic assets, having in mind, climate tech, we see a potential redistribution of wealthness, and if hydrogen is the new gold, countries with assets like sun, wind will be back on stage as far as they continue to master and own their gold.
The green gold. Assets. The green gold. What about you, Kate?
Yeah, if there's one thing that I find frustrating is there's this concept out there that impact investing or impactful investments may or may not have a strong business case attached to them. For me, that is completely counterintuitive, right? Impactful companies that have values aligned with their people, employ and attract much better talent. They have regulation generally pushing them forward as opposed to blocking them. And you've got the pull factor of consumers, governments, institutions wanting these products. There is a very clear commercial rationale behind many of these business cases. So impact does not require one to be philanthropic, right? There can be a very strong and returns case attached to it.
And you, Kevin?
Well, there's a lot of things that I feel hopeful about, but the few things that annoy me at the moment is the amount of money that goes in things like the metaverse. It's again coming to there's tech for good, there's tech for worse. And I think what's the use of metaverse? And then we can really question that. Putting this money in other things that are way more useful for society is really, I think, important. And we need to be aware of what is the use of tech and what is the intention behind tech. Right now, if you also the impacts of tech, we don't talk enough about that. Tech was about 3.5% of our global emissions, but it's going to be 7% by 2025. It's growing a lot because we're pushed to overconsume tech as well. There's, in average, 13 devices per person in the US. It's going to be 35 in 10 years. The GAFA, they also push you to overconsume. And I'm not saying that we should necessarily consume less. I'm saying at least don't overconsume things. And the problem is that right now the system is pushing us to do just that. And so go with the emission with it. And we don't talk enough about the impacts, the externalities of tech as well.
So we're wanting capitalism 2.0 as well. Can I push you for something optimistic so that we can leave everybody on a high note?
Well, look at all the solutions here. This gives me so much hope, and all the entrepreneurs and the people that are, changing the game and that are, making a killing here. And this gives me a lot of hope. That's why we're doing this. And I want to thank them for being here and making this event what it is. And thank you for attending as well.
I can't say better than that. Thank you very much to our
Thank you.
panel. Thank you so much.